From the studio that brought you Venom, the upcoming Kraven the Hunter, and the first movie to ever make $1 more billion, comes their next big questionable decision, Madam Web. Madam Web released about a month ago and had an incredible turnout of 2 people, 3 people. If you're online even a little bit, you already know about this movie. I heard about it as well, and I even had some prior knowledge. I've known who Madam Web is for a while thanks to the amazing 90s Spider-Man cartoon. But like everyone else who knew about this character, and even people who didn't, I was pretty confused why Sony would choose to make a movie about her. They followed through, however, so now the world gets to see Madam Web in all her glory. Or maybe not. Well, those people could just be hating on the movie for attention. Maybe it's not that bad, right? I wanted to wait for it to come out on digital so I could talk about it and form my own opinion. So I watched it, and it's a movie. The images on the screen are certainly moving, and it has actors, and it was directed by a person, and also written by other people. Okay, so yeah, unsurprisingly, I agree with everyone else. This movie is not good, but I wouldn't say it's offensively bad. It's more of a funny bad movie. It doesn't make sense a lot of the time. I'm often confused about most stuff in a scene, and I'm even more confused at how this movie got made. But all that makes it even funnier because the film is actually trying to be serious and tell a cohesive story. And it kinda does that, but in all the wrong ways, which we should start discussing. Let's start with something that'll be a reoccurring issue throughout the movie. In the very first scene, we are introduced to Constance Webb, the mother of Cassandra Webb, Dakota Johnson's character. Mama Webb is researching spiders in the Amazon right before she died. That line isn't even actually in the movie, by the way. Pretty disappointing, honestly. So she's looking for spiders with Ezekiel Sims, and you can see in the background that his mouth isn't moving, but he's speaking here. And like I said, this is going to happen a lot in the movie. Most of the times he's talking, you do not see his face. She's looking for special supernatural spiders or something that have healing abilities, and when she finds one, Sims betrays her and they fight over the spider, which is where we get the first moment of unsettling camera work. They start to struggle, and for some reason the camera has to do some quick little zooms that completely take me out of the moment. Sim shoots her and runs away. Then these spider people come to save Mama Webb, and we get even worse cinematography and editing. There's these super quick cuts and this weird nauseating sideways tilt thing. I don't know if I've ever had motion sickness, but this movie is full of camera angles that are trying real hard to give it to me. Mama Webb dies, but the spider people are able to save her newborn daughter, and then we jump ahead to the dark future of 2003, the year of MySpace, American Idol, and Ben Affleck's Daredevil. This whole beginning section with Cassie is fine, I guess. It's not really bad, but it's pretty boring. Some of the dialogue is kind of bad, or at least generic.
Us strays need to stick together. Somebody's hungry.
I actually kind of enjoyed the moment when they're trying to show her a version of family stuff because she's an orphan. She's against taking this drawing from this kid, which is a pretty awkward scene, but later when she's looking through her mom's old stuff, I can understand they're trying to show that Cassie wishes she got to know her mom. But ultimately, none of this really leads anywhere. Yeah, she kind of gets a found family by the end, but you'll see soon how forced that whole thing feels. So we go from that little attempt at character building to the scene where she gets her powers. She and Ben Parker, who's in this by the way, you know, Uncle Ben, he's here too. Doesn't do much though. Cassie and Ben are saving a man from a car that's teetering over a bridge, and when the guy gets out, Cassie falls into the water. And like most of the movie, this scene is once again confusing and ugly. I guess this is supposed to be the Great Web, which is like the thing that connects all the spider people across the multiverse, and that's how she sees the future, I think. Cool concept, and cool that they attempted it, I guess, but the end result is pretty bad looking. And I don't quite understand how falling in the water gave her powers. I assume it had something to do with the spider that bit her mom, but they never really clarify that. Out of all the exposition in the movie, none of it has to do with her powers. I wasn't looking for anything super detailed, just a little something, because all the superhero movies work like that. Spider-Man gets bit by a spider, Captain America gets the serum, even the Sony movies do it. Eddie Brock gets the symbiote, and Morbius gets bit by a bat. Something a little more concrete than whatever vague shit this guy was saying would have been nice. But honestly, who cares? She could see the future now, sure. This seems to be a common thing with people that interacted with that spider because Sims can see his future too. And he sees 3 spider girls killing him, which is what the entire plot is about. Sims doesn't want these girls that he's never met to kill him, so he decides to kill them instead. First off, why does he decide to go after them? If he just went on living his life, he'd probably be fine. He could at least watch them, and if they grow up and get powers, then he can maybe get more defensive. But if he did that, I guess the movie would have even less of a plot than it already has. So we get some more scenes where Sims is clearly not saying what we're hearing.
You have no idea of the torment and torture of dying over and over again. I can't escape it.
And then we circle back to Cassie. She goes to an awkward baby shower at the home of Mary Parker, Peter's mom, but that's cut short when all the paramedics get called away. Cassie starts getting a lot more visions, and one in particular is of her boss, I don't know, they never really explain who this O'Neill guy is. She gets a vision of him dying and tries to stop him from leaving, but he ignores her, resulting in his death. Then they start playing some sad dramatic music and make this into a super serious moment, trying to get me to care about this guy who I saw in like 2 scenes. But he is kind of important because this leads Cassie to get checked for her future vision issue, and she gets told to take some time off work. She sulks and tests her powers a little more before heading to O'Neill's funeral, and this is where we finally get to see something happen in the movie. It only took 40 minutes to get here. Cassie shows up at Grand Central, and the 3 girls that Sim saw in his vision are here as well. So his hacker lady, who doesn't matter, spots them and he heads down there. And now that Cassie's on the train, I could talk about the most important part of the movie. This guy. Him right here. What is he playing? To me, that looks like a PSP. I thought to myself, the PSP didn't come out in 2003, did it? Turns out, it did not. It released in 2005. So him having a PSP here doesn't fit the continuity. And even worse, this is a Sony movie. The PSP is a Sony product. How do you forget when your own game console came out, Sony? God, this movie is so terrible. Oh, right, the actual plot, right, my bad. So Sims is on his way to kill these girls, and Cassie starts seeing visions of that. When I rewatched part of this scene, I realized something kinda cool. When she sat down, she took off her jacket, but every time she sees a vision, her jacket goes back on. There's even this neat shot of her without a jacket, and then the guy walks in front of the camera, and she has the jacket on again. This is like the most basic and simple thing they could have done, but I don't know, it's something a little visually interesting for me to latch onto. Cassie awkwardly rescues the girls and tries to hide them from Sims, who we now see in his Spider-Man Spider-Person suit, and he fights some cops while accompanied by some more disorienting camera movements. Cassie takes the girls with her, and they all steal a cab to escape in. And I feel like this is where you start to see a clearer picture of Cassie's really weird character motivations. She wanted to save these girls because obviously she didn't want them to get murdered, but then in the cab she immediately gets upset with these annoying teenagers for being annoying and teenagers. She starts saying stuff like, "Oh man, I'm dropping you off with your parents, I can't stand you." And she does this a few times throughout the movie. She tries to help them, then she doesn't want any part of it. And then she goes to help them again, but then it's too much for her, so she has to leave. It's very weird how many times she has to learn that she can't just leave these girls behind. Reminds me of another thing I watched recently where the protagonist can't learn their damn lesson. Cassie decides to help the girls for now, and what the hell is this camera angle? This was so jarring the first time I saw it. What the fuck is that shot? Jesus, I got fucking vertigo after that. Anyway, the girls head into the woods, and Cassie leaves them there while she goes to check some of her mom's stuff, but not before leaving them with some words of wisdom.
Don't do dumb things.
She heads back to the city and decides to take the license plates off the stolen taxi, but it looks like she just took them off and left them right next to the car, so that kind of defeats the purpose. Also, the cab has those numbers all over it. Can't they use that number to see that it's stolen or something? And back in the woods, the girls lit a fire for some reason, and they decide to do a dumb thing and leave to go get food. When they leave, the fire is still clearly lit, so that could easily cause a forest fire if it catches something else. Why is all this simple stuff being ignored? It's fine. It probably happened off screen or something. Yeah, don't think about it too hard. We can't worry about those details. We gotta get to the good stuff. The Britney Spears part of the movie. Okay, so unironically, I kind of think this toxic sequence is fun. Don't get me wrong though, it's still bad. The way they use the song at times is kind of weird because at first it's non-diegetic, meaning just the audience hears it, but then it's on the radio, so the characters hear it too, and they awkwardly switch between that while also playing the score on top of the song. Also, just the fact that the girls are dancing on the table in the diner and the staff aren't kicking them out is a bit unrealistic, but the sequence is actually good, I think. Maybe I just like the song and not the sequence. Well, anyway, since the girls left the woods, they got spotted by a nice truck driver who called in about the possible kidnapping. So Sims finds out and heads over to kill them, and Cassie is almost too late to stop that. But before Sims can do anything, she just runs them over with the taxi, which is pretty hilarious. Cassie gets mad at the girls again after just being worried about them, and takes them to a hotel where they start to bond a little. Here we get some of the girls' backstories, and they're all pretty uninspired. Julia's parents are divorced and she thinks her stepfamily hates her. Maddie has rich parents who don't pay attention to her. And Anya's dad got deported, which is also a little questionable. The other girls get pretty generic backstories, but the one Latina gets a deported dad? I know this movie isn't very unique in terms of writing, but they somehow keep surprising me with how unoriginal they can get. Cassie randomly teaches the girls how to do CPR, sure, and then she goes on a quick little trip to Peru in order to find out more about her mom. In the meantime, the girls go stay with Ben and Mary so they can keep hiding from Sims. When Cassie gets to Peru, she meets the head spider guy, I guess, and he brings her to that pool from the beginning. She finds out that her mom was trying to look for that spider originally to save Cassie because she was going to be born with a degenerative disease. So that's a nice thing, I guess. And the moment with her mom is alright. The spider dude then recites a weird butchered version of great power, great responsibility.
And when you take on the responsibility, great power will come.
Jesus Christ. This has none of the impact that the original line has, so I don't care to talk about it any more than this. It was just really strange. Let's move back to New York, where the girls are driving Ben crazy, but are ultimately safe and sound. Sims can't find them somehow, but they're safe, so long as they stay there. Suddenly, Mary goes into labor, so she's got to get to the hospital. And of course, Ben goes with her, but for whatever reason, the girls go too. The girls that are supposed to stay hidden go out in public with a woman who's about to give birth. That alone is going to attract a little attention. I have no clue why them leaving is a good idea, when they were safe for like a whole week just staying at the house. Well, I guess the writers chose to have Ezekiel search all their homes and friends' homes, but not Cassie's home or friends' homes. So they have to fix that by having the characters just be stupid. They're immediately spotted when they leave, and Sims chases them again. Cassie shows up to find everyone gone, and wait a second. She shows up in the stolen taxi. Before she left for Peru, she said she'd be gone for a week. You're telling me she had this stolen cab with visible damage just, parked at her apartment? Nobody found that after a whole week? Sorry, I'm thinking too hard again about the thing the writers hoped I wouldn't notice. Let's just move on to the next part, where she replaces that stolen cab with a stolen ambulance. I don't know why this happened, but we can't worry about that now. We've got to get to the girls before Sims does, because he's going to use his spider powers to kill him. Oh, wait, no, he's just gonna blow them up with a grenade? I guess that works. That's not too silly, and it can't possibly get sillier than that. Alright, she just drove that ambulance through a cement wall and could have potentially landed on top of the car full of people she's trying to protect, but don't think about that. She actually has a great plan in mind. Her and the girls are gonna head to the fireworks factory or whatever from earlier in the movie to kill Sims. Yeah, let's go with that. So the climax of the film happens in this building with a bunch of fireworks that the girls set off, and they start hitting Sims and blowing holes in brick walls. Those are some strong fireworks, huh? They run along the rooftop to get to a helicopter that Cassie called in, and fireworks start coming up through the roof, and they dodge them because of Cassie's powers, and a whole lot of unintelligible stuff is happening. But it's cool, I think. All these zooms are cool, right? The helicopter gets blown up from a firework that Sims punched. Yes, of course. The girls all fall somehow and are dangling in separate spots, so Cassie has to use her new powers of cloning herself and saving them all at once. The head spider guy mentioned something about this, and I don't know if this is actually one of her powers in the comics or not, but I don't care enough to find out. Sims gets crushed with the S from the Pepsi sign. I think Pepsi Man would be proud that he helped commit a murder, and Cassie falls in the water. The protagonist seeking fireworks now starts shooting down into the water and hit Cassie directly across the eyes. Just like characters in other superhero movies have to earn their iconic costume or weapon, Madam Web has to earn her iconic blindness. Oh, and she's dying now, so the girls perform CPR. Pretty convenient that she randomly taught them how to do that earlier in the movie, huh? So, Sims is dead, the girls are safe, Cassie is now blind and also in a wheelchair, and they're friends now, I guess. We get one more quick and ugly scene of the Spider Women all standing in hero poses to signify that they're ready for their next battle, which will totally be happening because this movie made so much that it will absolutely be getting a sequel. Oh, actually, never mind. Well, that's the whole movie, and it definitely fits perfectly in the Sony Marvel universe. I don't know what else to say about this, man. I just feel bad for all the actors in this film, but not too bad. They all got paid and moved on, and they at least still tried to promote the movie. Some did a little too good of a job.
I know that when you see Madam Web, you're gonna love it. In fact, I think you're gonna see it twice.
But it's not their fault that the director, writers, and producers made so many strange decisions with this film. I guess one good thing is that the movie actually released. That would be crazy if they made an entire movie and it just never released in any way so people could see it and judge it for themselves. Good thing that never happens, right guys? I don't know how to wrap this review up. The movie sucks, it's a 2 out of 10. But it is really funny at times, and I might actually consider watching it again in the future. Might need some alcohol though. Anyway, that'll be it for Madam Web. And I guess now since I've watched this, I'll just have to check out Kraven the Hunter later in the year. Super excited for that one. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you again next time. Howdy. So I was not planning to make this video so soon, but when I saw the surprise digital release on Friday, I just had to check it out. All those enticing reviews just made me so excited to watch it, you know? And I think this was a fun video to do for my first review of just a single movie. I got a couple ideas in my head for my next video, so I'll go decide what I want to do and start working on that. I hope you'll stick around for more videos, and if you like this one, please go check out some of my other stuff. See you around.